It is January 7th, 2019, the first Raw of the new year. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Raj Giri, Mr. Matt Morgan coming along soon. Interesting Raw, a Raw of the new era. Raj, when are they officially going to start? When's the new era officially begin?
Yeah, I remember getting criticized a couple weeks ago when they said they were going to shake things up and things were going to be different. And I was like, man, that episode wasn't different at all. And people were like, you idiot, they met in 2 weeks when, after the holidays, you idiot. And here we are tonight. Nothing felt different. I didn't think tonight's episode was necessarily bad or anything. I thought the second hour was terrible. I thought the first hour was, I loved the Gene Okerlund tribute. I thought that video was amazing. And then the third hour I thought was pretty good. I thought the Sasha and Nia thing went way too long. But outside of that, I thought it was a good ending. Sasha almost died in that match. And outside of that, not a bad Raw at all. But it just feels like nothing's changed as far as shaking things up, kind of shaking up the formula. The formula is exactly the same.
No, so it's starting to feel like the empty promises of coincidentally a New Year's resolution. Like, I'm going to eat better in the new year. I'm going to start exercising. Hey, dude, it's January 7th, Glenn. What's up? It's like, well, I'm going to get to it in January at some point. Somewhere in the new year is my resolution. Not the start, but within the new year, we will get a new era. You just gotta ease into these things. You can't make, a complete life change like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's totally how it felt. So, from that point of view, I'd like to see some major changes creatively, just with how things are structured, with just the formulaic way they do things every week, that they've been doing for over a decade. I mean, just how the shows are structured, I think it needs a little revamping, just kind of changing it up. But they're so set in their ways that I honestly feel like the only big change that's going to come is just these NXT call-ups. And, they do that every year. It's not something that's necessarily a big change.
Yeah, Matt Morgan, it's a new year. It's a new era. How pumped were you tonight for Raw?
Very pumped because of Hogan coming back. I had no idea Cena was coming. Did you guys?
Yeah. Cena they had advertised over the holidays, but yeah.
Usually it's whoopee-doo, but, for him to kick off Raw, I thought was pretty cool, right? Cool show. I liked it.
Okay, well, let's jump right into it and talk about the show, do a recap. Started off with the graphic commemorating the passing of WWE Hall of Famer Mean Gene Okerlund, who passed away at the age of 76 last Wednesday. Horrible loss to wrestling, an icon who will never be forgotten, blazed the trail really for the modern commentary, the Howard Cosell of the WWE and sports entertainment. And of course, it was a tribute to him within the episode. And then we cut from that to a backstage brawl with Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins, several superstars trying to break it up, getting involved, and went out into the floor of the Amway Center, setting up what would come later. But first, we had John Cena return to the ring and cut a promo, denouncing his entry into the Royal Rumble, talking about his aspirations for WrestleMania 35. What do you think, Matt, as far as the Cena return? Was this different than the previous times?
Can you guys yeah. Can you see and hear me?
Well, coincidentally, Matt, we can hear you, but we can't see you. So what more is apropos to talk about John Cena's return? Did this feel different to you? To me, this felt kind of like the standard, I've been gone, now I'm going to come back and tell you how my head and heart are still in the game.
You can see me now, right?
Yes.
Very apropos. I'll tell you what I didn't like. I didn't like him shooting down Drew with his boring diatribe of, you're just another guy saying the same thing everybody else says. Yes, John Cena, that's what happens when you're King Banana, is the next upstart comes out and calls you out. That's how this works. It's called a wrestling program, John. That's exactly how it works. So guess what? You're pointing out the major problem that you've been there too long and you've been on top for too long. So therefore, the promos are going to always sound similar to one another. They're either going to crap on your wrestling or they're going to crap on you for burying younger kids, because you do both. So either earn it, you've earned it, so wear it and figure a different rebuttal, but don't shoot down the talent for pointing out that they're out there to get you. Drew put you over on top of it. You know, Drew did what we are taught to do in heel promos is you put over your opponent first, and then you talk about beating them. And that's exactly what he did. He didn't take any shortcuts. He didn't mock how crappy Cena is in the ring. He didn't do any of that. He did a classic heel promo, and John, still with that ridiculous ego of his, you know, shot it down immediately, and I didn't like it. He should have put him over. He should have been like, I've seen what you've been doing, and I know who's next on your list. It's obviously me. It ain't going to happen, and here's why. That's all you had to do, and he did it.
Yeah, you know what, Matt, to your point, I felt like Drew wasn't saying what everyone else says in their promos. What, you know, what AJ and Dean would always say is, oh, you're a part-timer, you don't have that desire.
Yes.
And Drew wasn't saying that at all. He was saying, you're the best of all time, and I want to be the best. No one's been saying that with Cena. So it was completely different. So I totally agree. To me, this felt like this is going to be a WrestleMania match. I think it's going to be Drew and Cena. I mean, there's no other, you know, really obvious choices. I don't think they'll do Cena and Undertaker again. The only thing I worry with Drew, I would hope that he's going over. But if he doesn't, we've seen what happens in years past with Bray Wyatt and Rusev when they had their Mania match with Cena. They had a ton of steam, had the Mania match lost, and then just kind of floundered. Never really got to that level again.
It's like, but John does not have to win. There's no reason for it.
Right, but I could see Vince being like, oh, he was squashed by Undertaker last year. We don't want him to lose again. Well, you know, Vince has the guys he sees as top guys win, you know, even if they don't need to.
He has to see Drew differently. The guys you mentioned don't look like Drew.
I agree, but he's already had Drew losing to Dolph and Finn.
I don't have answers for that. I don't.
Well, Drew goes down to get into it with Cena. Out comes Bobby Lashley, Leo Rush. Out comes Seth and Dean. And this turns into a 6-man tag match when Finn Balor comes out. We get John Cena, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre. And this was the first half hour of the show.
Yeah, man. This was great star power. Great star power.
But don't you think in a 6-man tag, though, it sort of takes away from the unique specialness of each individual in the story?
But this was a very crowded show, wasn't it? So I liked how long they gave them for what it's worth. The match I thought was great.
Yeah.
Anytime with Seth, you can always count on Seth and Dean and some of these others to pick up the pace of any match they're involved in. I know we got on them about, you know, the rest holds, you know, when they had their singles feud. You know, a couple months back, right, at the pay-per-view. But, like, any match they're in, when there's tag matches, for whatever reason, they make, same with, obviously, Balor, they make it more exciting.
Yeah, I thought the match was good, but I thought it just went way too long. For a match with no stakes, you know, I'd rather these guys be used separately throughout the show instead of front-loading the star power and then spreading it out more. I just thought, you know, 40 minutes almost went between the promo and this match. And really for no reason. It just to set up another Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose match for, you know, for later in the night. I just felt like.
Do you guys think he was supposed to go through the table off that body slam?
In the main event?
Yeah.
What did he went through it, right?
Yeah, but it was like a very soft body slam. I almost think he wasn't supposed to go through it.
No. I'll have to
slam
watch that
him
again.
hard. You guys got to watch it again. It was a very wimpy body slam, like he was almost placing him to do something. I don't know what the something would have been that he did after that. You know what I mean? You got to watch it again. He put him down kind of ginger. I just on the top of my brain. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. So the faces won that match: Seth Rollins, John Cena, and Finn Balor. After that, Seth Rollins stormed to the back where we saw Triple H talking to Sasha Banks and Bayley. Rollins went to the ramp and demanded a rematch with Dean Ambrose, which was set for a Falls Count Anywhere match for the main event of this show. From there, WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan was walking backstage wearing his Mean Gene Omania t-shirt. Back from the break, we saw some star reactions and tweets to the passing of Mean Gene Okerlund, and out came Hulk Hogan.
Okay. All right, guys, really quick. I got to get this off my chest. I was irate that they showed Hulk Hogan walking around backstage like he's Rusev getting ready for a match or some shit. I wanted to hear the pop of that arena blow off the place when his music hit, when Real American hit, and they shot themselves in the foot by going backstage and playing that of him walking to the ring. You know what I mean? You don't do that with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it takes the kind of the anticipation factor out a little bit.
Do you his music hitting unexpectedly? Hell yeah.
Do you think because the crowd, you know, he got a good reaction. It wasn't an overwhelming reaction.
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, guys.
Yeah, for his first time on TV in almost 4 years.
Kind of mad at Orlando. I was like cursing at my TV.
Yeah, that's his home state. You know, it's Florida.
Come on, guys, what are you doing? You spoiled mother effers. I was yelling at the TV. It's Hulk Hogan.
The reaction online, I mean, made this seem like it was going to be very controversial. I thought that the somewhat tepid reaction was a reflection of that. I mean, regardless about how you feel about Hulk Hogan, has enough time passed? Has he atoned? Certainly forever associated with Mean Gene Okerlund.
Come on, dude. The people in that arena are not the same people that know what happened or what he said. They're just not.
Yeah.
Not the majority of those fans in that arena. No way. These are families that, oh, wrestling's in town? Oh, okay. Shoot, Hulk Hogan's going to be there? Oh, my God. I used to watch him all the time when I was a little kid. We got to get tickets.
Yeah, and you know what else? I just wonder if this generation, Hogan's too past, you know, like it's just he's too removed from this generation.
Is he like superstar Billy Graham? Remember when superstar Billy Graham came back to WWF when we were kids? I didn't get it. I didn't see what the big deal was when I was a little kid. I said he had tie-dye shirts. I thought that was cool. But like other than that, I didn't get it. I didn't understand who he was, what he was about, because I was a little kid still.
Right.
I understand why everyone had such a boner for him. You know what I mean? My dad went bananas over it, I remember. I didn't get it, though. I wonder if it's like that now for Hogan.
Well, yeah, Raj,
I could see that being part of it. Even though you remember last year at Raw 1000 and the pop that Steve Austin got, granted that was New York, but that place went crazier than any other wrestler. I think any other pop probably that entire year. So I almost feel like they're more this generation is probably a little more tied into the Attitude Era, not so much the 80s. I don't know. I mean, Gene still, you know, they're very respectful to the video. I thought that video was amazing.
The video was incredible, and the tribute to Gene was incredible. I mean, such a legacy left by the man.
Yeah, I mean, every single one of us. Someone was saying this on the radio I was listening to, and they were talking about how, you know, wrestling when you were a little kid was synonymous with that Hogan promo with Mean Gene, you know. Well, you don't Mean Gene, you know what I mean? Yeah. Every single, you know, every one of your friends, they start their wrestling impersonation usually with that sentence.
Even AJ Styles, remember at Raw 1000 when he was interviewed by not Raw 1000, sorry. Oh yeah, it was Raw 1000 when Mean Gene did the cameo with AJ, and AJ started off the promo. Well, you know Mean Gene, and he's like, I just been wanting to say that since I was a kid.
Yeah, man, that's it right there.
Yeah, I mean, Gene, I love that they included some of the moments like him dropping the F-bomb when the SummerSlam backboard dropped with the Rick Rude promo, and then him telling someone to put that cigarette out.
They could have shown 3 hours of Mean Gene highlights, and I would have been completely satisfied tonight. It
just shows what a difference they have with off non-wrestling personalities in WWE now, right? They try to make them all the same cookie cutter, and you just look at how much personality Gene had, and it made the wrestlers better by doing that.
Oh, big time! Hell yeah, dude! But he was so over. He was like my 6th wrestling figure I remember getting.
Yeah. And people are pointing out it was Raw 25, not Raw 1000. But yeah, I mean, he was as synonymous. One sad thing in that video was just seeing how many of those legends in there are no longer here. You know,
it's terrible. Like Hulk could have kept going on and on about other wrestlers. It could have been a battle royal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The Earthquake. There's so many people.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think part of it was, so remove the Hogan controversy, and I don't want to discuss that again because I feel like we've taken up a long time of this podcast, and we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. You have your feelings about it. People, I think, know where each of us stand to a degree. Yeah. Let's look at Hogan's promo after. Now, granted, I'm not going to judge the way that anybody mourns. It's not for me to say how you want to pay tribute to someone that you're missing, but I think Hulk Hogan comes across. Mean Gene has a certain charm about him. You know, when you see certain bands or artists from the 70s and you go like, okay, well, that still holds up. It's still good. And whatever seems outdated about it is really charming. Hogan, I think he comes out there and he starts doing his shtick, and it's like watching Paul Stanley from Kiss. You have to be a really big Kiss fan and in the right mindset. A kid today would see that and be like, oh, hey, who's this old guy spouting off some...
I think that happened tonight.
Yeah, he's a little too hair metal for the current audience.
Which is all I listen to, for the record.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with that. Too. I love me some hair metal, but I think that was what was most telling tonight about this, is that it's... The reason the Attitude Era is still very relevant to today's audiences because it doesn't feel like that long ago, and we've evolved along those lines.
And those promos don't feel dated. You know, an Austin promo doesn't feel dated today.
Yeah.
I will say this about Hogan. I figure, my take is, after a while, you got to forgive at some point. But after seeing him tonight, it was nice nostalgia thing, kind of, and him paying tribute to Gene. It seemed very fitting. But I have no desire to see him in a weekly role or anything like that, or being on TV a lot. I mean, once in a while is fine, but
yeah.
And then, not to apologize, accept, or even condone the WWE bringing him back and doing the merch tweets and all that stuff. But when we say this after tonight, let's go out on this note. Let this be Hogan's last big appearance on WWE.
That's fine by me. Yeah.
Or maybe a WrestleMania cameo backstage or something like that. But
once in a blue moon.
Once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, but this tonight, his style, the tribute was great. But yeah, I don't think this gels with the current product. His style.
Him naming some of the guys that are no longer with us. You just hear some of those names, and they're just not that old. Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect. They weren't that old when they passed away. So it's just I don't know. The segment was great. The video was great, but it was really sad as well.
So we got plenty more to talk about, but first, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this episode, SeatGeek. Getting tickets online. Oh my God, is it complicated? You've heard us talk about the problems, the challenges. Where am I going to be sitting? Are these tickets guaranteed? Will I definitely get in? SeatGeek makes it so simple. With hundreds of sites, varying levels of reliability, it is hard to know who to trust. That's why SeatGeek is the way to go. They pull millions of tickets into one place so you can easily find the seat you want for a price you're willing to pay. There's nothing quite like being there in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. They got me into Evolution. They've gotten me into so many shows. Mean Girls on Broadway. I'm again going to see Robbie Williams in Vegas coming up in March. SeatGeek made it happen. It is fantastic because the way they make your ticket buying experience easier than ever is by searching multiple ticket sites and grading every ticket based on value. They help you immediately identify the best seats to fit your budget, and every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Raj, you've heard him talk about it. Lady Gaga, the Broncos, Bon Jovi, so many events.
So and we're going to Hugh Jackman. Got my seats on the SeatGeek. He's got a concert. My wife.
Concert doing what?
Songs. Greatest Showman, biggest selling soundtrack of the year, biggest selling album of the year.
Yeah, I guess it's like he does songs. I don't know what else. It's my wife was saying, or some of her friends asked us to come along, and she was like, don't buy anything. We use SeatGeek, so let us get the tickets. It's a much better price. I don't know much about it. I haven't looked too much into it, but I think it's next month. Yeah, Hugh Jackman. But tickets on SeatGeek.
Your wife was pretty clutch by telling everyone that you guys were going to use SeatGeek, huh?
Yeah, she knows. I mean, we're actually also going to Nuggets game next Friday, so also use SeatGeek for that. So I mean, we use it for everything now, and you got Royal Rumble coming up, Takeover. I mean, it's just tons of events coming up. WrestleMania season, Elimination Chamber, Fastlane, tons of NXT shows, all your WWE live events, just tons of stuff.
What's the code that viewers can use to get?
So, yes, you can make SeatGeek your go-to source for everything sports, theater, wrestling, comedy, and more. I've got the app on my phone, the easiest way to shop for tickets, and you'll get $10 off your first purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code INC today. That's promo code INC for $10 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets. And we thank them for sponsoring the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Lumberjack match for the Raw Tag Team titles. Raj, can you recap this quickly? Set up what happened.
Lumberjack match for the Raw. No, it was just a tag match, right? The Revival.
No, it was the titles, man. The Revival versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode.
Great job, Raj.
Yeah. What did you say?
For the Lumberjack match for the Raw Tag Team
titles. I thought you said a gauntlet match. I was like, okay.
No.
Lumberjack match. I don't know if there's much to say. The Gable and Roode picked up the win. They had, was it Dawson? Ash Dawson, one of the guys. They pinned him, but his foot was under the ring. So there's another, it's weird. You would think that Gable and Roode were the heels in this, but they got a tainted win again. I don't know. It sound like a broken record. I just wish they'd do more with Roode.
If I were to type in my opinion, it would just be the letters E and H and then ...
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because they're all really talented guys. Again,
oh my God, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like what I said a couple weeks ago. With the Revival, you buried them for so long. Yeah. Do something to give them a shot in the arm. I pitched the idea of putting Arn Anderson with them, or just doing something that gives them. That gives fans a little peek, a little hint that you're actually making an effort this time. This is for real, as opposed to just doing the same thing. Yeah, they're getting TV time, but they're not really being used much differently. The tag teams aren't.
They are not. Hence why my boys, the Young Bucks, smart coming up with their own company. But
yeah, we'll talk about that after this, and Kenny Omega leaving New Japan. So we'll get into that, and also Matt. Glenn seems to have fallen off. I'm sure he'll be reconnecting here in a second. But Tuesday nights, tomorrow night, the first of our post SmackDown podcasts. Every Tuesday, we will be doing our SmackDown reviews.
I'm so pumped to talk about SmackDown. You have no clue.
Yeah. It'll be a breath of fresh air. So definitely looking forward to that. Every Tuesday, we will have no podcast this Wednesday afternoon. We'll have the Weekly on Thursday, and then next week the Weekly Tuesday through Thursday at noon. 3 days a week, moving from 1 day to 3 days a week, and then every Monday night, Tuesday night, Glenn, myself, Mr. Matt Morgan, I will be doing the SmackDown review. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
So up next we had Elias. Well, first we had the promo for Lars Sullivan, Lacey Evans, Heavy Machinery, Nikki Cross, EC3. Fun little fact: Lacey Evans actually wrestled on Main Event tonight. And so did EC3. EC3 beat Kurt Hawkins. Lacey Evans lost by a submission to Natalya. So you want to catch these guys before they make their their Raw or SmackDown debuts. They will be on this week's Main Event.
So is that technically a debut then for Lacey?
I don't know. I don't know if they'll count it as that, or it seemed very odd that they put him on Main Event as opposed to maybe just a dark match.
I didn't see the advertisement though. What was the advertisement for all of them at once?
Well, they were advertising. They are doing putting all their promos together at once, but I don't think I don't think that means they're going to debut all the same week. Even though I wouldn't be surprised to see a few of them the night after the Royal Rumble, if not maybe all of them. Who knows? I thought we'd see at least one this week, and we do got SmackDown still. Glenn, you're back.
Yeah, sorry guys, I had a computer issue. Raj, if you could go with the recap, I don't have that up on my phone.
Okay.
So those were dark matches tonight for Lacey Evans and EC3. What happened next on the show, Raj?
All right. So next we had Elias losing steam quickly. He starts cutting his promo. Just feels he needs a little freshening up. He starts to perform a new song about Baron Corbin. Corbin interrupts. He says he's here to help the fans because we don't need it. We can't stand another mind-numbing performance. Right. Blah, blah, blah. This leads to a match. Baron Corbin versus Elias. This match also seemed like it went way too long. And basically, Corbin rammed. Okay, let me go through the finish here. Elias dropped Corbin, went to the top rope. He went for a flying knee, but Corbin rolled out of the way. Corbin comes back and dropped Elias with the right hand and rammed Elias into the ring post and nailed the end of days for a clean pin. It's a clean win. So We're in January. If you're losing clean to Baron Corbin in January, chances are you're not going to be in a big match at WrestleMania.
You don't think so? Come on.
I don't think so. I think pre-show or Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Okay, if he wins it then. I'm saying it right now.
I hope so. I just don't see why you have him lose to Corbin right now when Corbin is kind of tainted. Like the McMahons blamed him for Raw sucking.
It doesn't matter. He had so much TV time. He had so much heat built up. And my thing is, it's another situation where they booked themselves into a corner like they did when Seth Rollins was going against him earlier on, where both young talents lose out. Like one of them is always going to lose out in this scenario. They should not be anywhere near each other yet as they continue to both climb the ladder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or do a non-fin. I'm not a big fan of non-finishes, but they make sense once in a while. Or have a Corbin cheat to get the win. Do something to protect Elias a little bit.
Elias, yeah. I mean, Elias was hot there for a while, man. They kind of dropped it.
Yeah, Glenn, your thoughts? If you can hear us.
Well, they just haven't given Elias. Yeah, absolutely. They just haven't given Elias much of substance lately. It seems like. I mean, he does these segments and he's over in these segments, but there's not much as far as these feuds that I think is really been something the audience could sink their teeth into.
Yeah.
And with Corbin, I mean, where do you go after being ousted from that role and having all of the piss poor creative blamed on you? I like that he's still wearing the shirt and vest, though. Just for the job you want, not the job you have, right?
I guess so.
Hey, Glenn. Whenever I use my phone. Whenever I use my phone, if I take it off Wi-Fi, it comes in better, believe it or not, than it does with Wi-Fi. So try it.
Okay, I'll give that a try. Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
So back to what you were saying, though, it's like I don't like when they put these two guys that I would consider on the same push level. Do you know what I mean? And one has to lose out. I don't like that. I think it's stupid. And look, and they did it to Elias twice in a row, right? I would argue him versus Rollins was the same scenario almost.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he was really climbing and we were like, dude, he should be Intercontinental Champion, and they wouldn't put him over for it, remember?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that seemed like he could have used it a lot more than Dolph Ziggler at that point,
Yeah, it's more than Seth Rollins could, too, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, they did that. Corbin with the win. And oh my God! Next we had Braun Strowman coming to the ring. Big pop. He's just standing in the ring. He's waiting for Lesnar. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar appeared on the screen. They're just stalling, and it was just a really awkward. It was like Strowman, the what's that called again, Glenn? The Men in Black thing, where you blank the person out.
Yeah,
I believe the neuralizer.
The neuralizer. It was like someone took a neuralizer to Strowman because he just seemed like he had no clue what he was doing out there. They were just kind of stalling. Strowman saying, "Get these hands." It was just a really awkward segment. Like they just completely forgot what they were doing. Finally, Lesnar comes out. Strowman standing in the ring. Lesnar just smirks, walks around the ring, and never enters and leaves. So this is basically like every Lesnar segment, every other Lesnar segment that they've ever done, except usually in the past, Lesnar would eventually get in the ring.
Yeah.
And it would be it'd be way more interesting than what they did here. This segment,
right.
Probably the worst Brock Lesnar segment I think I've seen.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, since at least since his return before he left for the UFC.
I wasn't expecting to see him tonight. Was he advertised?
Yeah, he was advertised.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Matt, your thoughts on this?
I don't see Braun going over.
No.
No, nothing. Just, I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. I wouldn't say it was the worst ever for Brock, since his return, but it wasn't positive. It wasn't good. There was a huge gap there for a while when Braun was standing in the ring looking like a doofus. I don't know. I didn't think it did him any favors.
Yeah, some people bring it up that maybe Braun is not cleared yet, and that's definitely a possibility. But it still made it. Yeah, I'm sure he probably isn't. He's still not wrestling, but still to just stand there. I mean, it's just the scripting of the segment was just so odd. You could have done this a very different way without having to get physical.
Right. No, you're right.
Glenn?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think with Braun, we've all wanted to see so much for him. This promo segment, regardless of whose fault it was, I don't see him not getting punished for this and kicked to the back of the line again,
Yeah, I don't see him winning at the Rumble. That leaves like, who's he going to face at Mania? And I don't know, maybe Undertaker, maybe something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So they hype up Alexa Bliss's new talk show for later in the night. Next, we had Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox versus Apollo Crews and Ember Moon. Apollo Crews and Ember Moon won. Haven't they done this like the last 4 weeks or something, where with Apollo beating Jinder in some fashion?
Hey, he needs wins, so he's got a lot of wins to make up for.
Yeah, well, Moon got the pin here. Ember got the pin with the Eclipse. Love that move, but
nothing, just filler. This is just filler.
Just filler. Next, we had the moment. Oh, sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I liked the last man standing match at the end, but I think the rule for the new era should be, have we seen these same performers in the same segment in the last, 4 months? And if so, don't do it.
Yeah, bring in enhancement talent so you could have Apollo Crews get some wins without beating the same guy over and over.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. Yeah.
Next, we had this a moment of bliss segment with the Alexa Bliss's new talk show. Obviously, she's not cleared yet. The fact that they're giving her her own segment leads me to believe it's going to be a little bit before she is cleared. Yeah. So hopefully she's okay, but she's not cleared right now. Her first guest, Ronda Rousey. Rousey comes out talking about how there's been someone who's the heart of Raw and basically really putting over someone strong. Reveals that it is Sasha Banks. She really put Sasha Banks over while taking shots at Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Bliss joked that Bliss said basically that she thought Rousey was talking about her. Backstage, Nia Jax comes out, and then Sasha comes out, and this basically sets up Nia versus Sasha. The winner faces Rousey at the Royal Rumble. I think just with the setup, the fact that they've done Rousey and Nia, Rousey's already won a couple times. You kind of knew that Sasha was winning, which I'm all for. I'm for a new opponent for Rousey. I'm for Sasha getting something. We've been saying that forever on this podcast. So they have a match. It was a pretty long match. I actually thought it was too long.
Who? Sasha?
Sasha and Nia.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like, there's certain people, like, if it's Sasha against Bailey or Sasha, just with certain opponents.
Multiple segment match, yes.
Right, yes. And Nia is not that opponent.
No, she's not.
So they just went way too long, but they picked it up at the end. There was one brutal spot where they were outside on the ring apron. Sasha went for a hurricanrana on Nia, and with Nia's size, if she didn't go over, and Sasha basically looked like she was going to land on her neck. It looked pretty brutal. Did you see that spot, Matt?
I did. How much heat you think she's going to get online for it?
Do you think so? It was actually Nia getting a lot of heat for not rolling with the hurricanrana.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, which is weird to me because I feel like that's something you should not be doing with someone Nia's size.
No, you're supposed to snap the person back up. I would never take Ranas. I would take the cruiserweight and against their momentum, swing them back up into a power bomb.
Yeah. Glenn, did you see that spot?
Yeah, I mean, I was paying attention during it. I think, I don't know, with Sasha, she's, on one hand, I feel like Sasha's taken so many, near miss, could be catastrophic moves over time.
Yes, I agree with that.
My main thought with all this is how long is it before we get the women's tag titles? Because I feel like this is the rivalry, right? Tamina and Nia versus Bailey and Sasha for the tag titles. So with Sasha in this match, I think it's going to delay the introduction of those titles till at least Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, or it could be WrestleMania. I mean, maybe if you're going to introduce it, might as well do it on the big show.
Maybe.
Vince McMahon bringing it up on the Christmas Raw. Have they talked about it since? I don't think they mentioned it once on the show.
I didn't hear it.
No, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, and no Vince, no Stephanie, no Shane tonight. Just Triple H in the backstage segment. I think did we talk about that? The backstage segment with Seth Rollins where he granted him the match with Ambrose tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, Sasha won with the bank statement in the middle of the ring. Nia Jax tapped, and Sasha is going to the Royal Rumble to face Ronda Rousey. And after the match, Bayley came in and celebrated with Sasha. So. Yeah, Sasha versus Ronda. I bet you that match will be really good.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they get time to rehearse. Ronda has, exceeded expectations every time out. So I think this is going to be a really good match. So hopefully they do they're a little creative in the build-up and not just the standard stuff. Finally, the main event, Falls Count Anywhere match for the WWE Intercontinental title. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. Another long match, but it never dragged, I thought. It was crazy brawl that started off backstage, and they ended up fighting to the ring. Going back and forth. Rollins at the end of the match, Rollins hit Ambrose with the stomp. He went for the pin, and then out of nowhere, Bobby Lashley showed up and pulled him out of the ring to booze. Lashley then kicked the crap out of Rollins, rammed him into the barrier twice, hit the Dominator, and then Ambrose got the win. Afterwards, Lashley nailed Rollins with the spear, and then, or I'm sorry, he nailed him with the spear before, but after he put Rollins through the table, and that's pretty much how the show went off with Lashley posing over Rollins. That was a good match. I don't know if it's a good idea to be beating Rollins so much if your plan is indeed Rollins versus Lesnar.
No, it's not a good plan.
I always bring up the Rocky analogy. If you're having Rocky versus Drago, you don't have them both losing half their fights before they meet at the end. You want the ultra babyface, ultra heel, and then they clash
at their peak.
Exactly. So, granted they protected him, but so Rollins has lost more than he's won lately. So. He lost to Lashley via DQ, I think, last week.
Let's say he did win. Bottom line is, the lasting memory as a wrestler, what we're taught is you close the show. The bottom line is, what was the last thing fans saw? A dead-bodied Seth Rollins with Bobby standing over him.
Yeah.
That's more important than, I'm telling you right now, than a win. In wrestlers' terms, it is.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder if they're not going with Rollins and Lesnar, because this is the time of year where you really start building
the momentum. Yep.
Yeah,
you're freaking right, man.
So, anyways, that was the show. I thought, I was saying earlier, I felt like it wasn't a bad show, but it didn't feel like they promised this restart and shaking things up, and it just felt kind of like the same stuff.
I'm not paying attention to that part. I'm okay about those not living up to the restart. I'm paying attention. Tonight's show was so star-studded, it was insane to me. Because of that, I'm giving them a B-. No more C's.
Yeah, I'll go with C+. I thought the second hour of the show just sucked, but the first and the third were good. I mean, the first was, again, I thought it went a little long, but the Gene stuff, Hogan back. I thought the main event was good. And
Cena back. What's his name? Braun Strowman was there. Brock Lesnar appearance. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, it definitely had the stars, but I thought, again, the Lesnar versus Strowman was a big thumbs down for me. I'm always pumped for a Brock Lesnar appearance. Glenn, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, Raj. I would say a C+ would be even a little generous, just because I think, Matt, to your point, it's kind of the problem with Vince's logic a lot of the time, which is, well, we'll just have Brock there and people will pop for Brock because it's Brock. I think it's more important what he's actually doing and giving them something of substance. It's not enough just to have star power. You have to use them effectively.
But that's why you couple in Braun Strowman's return, John Cena's return, Hulk Hogan's return.
Yeah.
I mean,
but did any of them do anything? Hogan's promo we'll be talking about because it was Gene Okerlund. But were any of these other segments?
Honestly, for those guys, except for Braun, is their entrance. That's their draw. That's their allure.
Okay.
Yeah, I almost feel like the Cena Drew stuff, it felt like something big there for a minute, and then just turning into a 6-man tag. I almost felt like they should have left with Drew, taking
with
Cena
the
out.
Stuff, or whatever it was going to be. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
But,
yeah.
But anyway,
tease
still,
us for something more,
Yeah, exactly. But still, like I said, I thought it definitely wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people are saying online. I think expectations just get high when you have all the McMahons out there saying how they're going to make all these changes. First Raw of the new year.
What are fans saying online about it? What are they hating on?
On our poll on Twitter, there's these polls for what they thought of Raw, and it's almost all a thumbs down.
Jeez.
Yeah. So anyway, first Raw of the new year, I think the viewership should be way up. I think they did.
Yes, and it was a blowout national championship game too, by the way.
Yeah. And Raw 2 weeks ago on Christmas did 1.7 million viewers, their lowest ever in history by far. New Year's Eve up a little bit, 1.9 million. If with the past times they've been on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, you see like a 30% increase the week after. So should be back to like 2.5 million, 2.6 million this week. So this is the time of year where WWE starts getting their momentum back. They go on creative cruise control, through December, and then they come back in January. So this is when the big guns should start coming out. And just in time too, because we got the Royal Rumble, we got AEW announced last week. The Young Bucks and Cody, their executive vice presidents. Tony Khan, part owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, his father, Shad Khan, is the main owner. Billionaire funding this venture. Matt, your thoughts?
I'm excited as hell for them. I am. I hope it hits big because they're missing a huge WWE window at the moment, an opportunity to sign there and make some good money. But we know they would not be used correctly. It's a fledgling tag division. They're not going to be singles acts, right? So specifically, I really, really want it to blow up, You feel so emotionally invested in them between there being the Elite Series and how much work they put into editing. And guys, to go to Japan to begin with, you're always tired when you're wrestling there. You're never not tired, okay? It just sucks in my opinion.
Yeah.
In there, hey, let's edit this. We got to redo this. Let's reshoot this. Let's do. Oh my God, I would be the crankiest cast member ever. They'd kick me off after episode 1. Tell them go at themselves every time they want to re-edit things. You know what I mean? There's no way I'd be down for that. So I give them all the credit in the world for entertaining their fans, and now they got it to such a bloom. The flowers bloom so much now and blossom that they feel there's a need in the niche in the marketplace for a new company, headlined by those particular guys.
What do you think they need to succeed?
It's hard to say because today's dynamic is so different than what it was. It's a completely different landscape. It's now not just if you get TV, you're good to go. That's not it. WWE changed everything with this over the top stuff and having the network, right? So it's like before it was like if you had a good TV deal, it's some decent talent, some names, you'd be okay, and maybe you'd have a shot, right? A little bit of a shot against WWE somehow. You'd never beat them, but you'd have a shot a little bit, right? I don't think that's the way it is anymore. It's just so different, How do we judge it? How do we judge how they do versus a WWE? Do we just not compare it to WWE whatsoever and just keep it as its own entity and judge it on its own accord? You know what I mean? It's so tough to say.
And is that, because if they are going to be, if they're not competing with WWE, if they're kind of, at the ROH level, is right. That seen a little too crowded already with ROH and Impact and New Japan?
When you say it that way, it does sound it, yes. But which I don't think they can do. I hope they can, but I don't think you could catch that lightning in the bottle they did in Chicago. I don't think that's going to be a weekly thing. Those emotions in the arena, right?
Yeah.
That emotional investment. Because everybody felt like they were those fans that were there that night felt they were contributing to the guys they loved so damn much, right? So every fan knew they were like part of something, and to get them to get to the show, it's kind of like Wayne's World when they were creating the new Woodstock, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Wayne Stock, yes.
Dwayne Stock. Right? It was kind of similar to that. The fans all went to it, went crazy over it because they felt they were contributing toward it financially, right? They were willing to spend their money, the disposable income, to make it happen. I don't think you can ask them to do that on a weekly basis. I think I will personally. I definitely will. I don't know how many mad fans there are like I am though about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
crazy lunatic fans like myself. I don't know.
And they definitely have a strong base, right?
Right.
All in, but at the being the elite series, they get 150 to 250,000 views per week on YouTube, which anyone can get. It's easy to access. To make this promotion work, I think you're going to need a lot more than that on a weekly basis. You're going to need money coming in. At the same time, you don't want a TV deal that's too good, because if you're not hitting the station average, you're going to get canceled pretty quick. If they got like a TNT or TBS, say something like that, their station average is like 1.3, 1.5 million viewers a week. That's a big, that's a big task. It's almost like what TNA, when they started with Spike TV, I mean, it was the perfect situation for them, because Spike was only averaging like 400,000. TNA got like 850 on their very first episode.
Show on there for the longest.
Yeah, and they were averaging over 1 million for a long time. Yep. It's almost like if you did something like a WGN, they did the all-in pre-show. WGN averages 350,000 viewers a week. That's very hittable for them, and it's a much better TV deal than Pursuit or some of the other stuff that's out there. The B in sports. Pursuit? That's where Impact is moving to this Friday.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're on a channel called Pursuit.
That's right.
When did this happen?
Yeah, this happened a few weeks ago. So, it was announced like a month ago. But yeah, they're off Pop TV and are moving to Pursuit, which is owned by Anthem, and they're moving to Friday nights at 10 o'clock.
Oh, God.
Yeah. On the plus side, they're also going to be streaming on Twitch. So not many people get Pursuit. So a lot of people have access to Twitch. So they'll be able to watch it that way. But yeah, that's is if you're not WWE, the TV landscape hasn't been very favorable. I mean, New Japan's been doing good numbers for access, better than their average.
Who
but
says WWE's doing good?
Well, as far as money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not as far as viewership, but as far So one thing that is going to be interesting to see is Kenny Omega announced that he is no longer with New Japan. He lost to Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. If you haven't checked out our post Wrestle Kingdom podcast with Kelsey, and check that out. It's on our YouTube channel and the podcast. Kenny Omega gone. I think his contract is up at the end of this month, which would put him out of the Royal Rumble. But WWE has reportedly made a big offer for him. All Elite Wrestling obviously wants him. Can they? Can they offer WWE money right off the bat without a TV deal announced, at least? Without it, they're going to be announcing their Double or Nothing show coming up in Vegas in either April or May. But what can they offer Kenny Omega right now?
Look at it this way. We don't know. We don't know what their financial situation is, right? There's so many variables. So instead, I'd rather talk about what it would mean to each company. If he signed with AEW, it's a game changer for them as far as them having a must-see performer that's red hot, that everybody loves watching perform. And I don't mean just in the normal smart mark kind of way. Everybody universally loves to watch Kenny Omega's stuff, right? He's as hot can get in wrestling. And he's the headline act for that show immediately, obviously, for AEW, right? Whereas WWE, we all want to see him go there too, because we want to see now that the argument would normally be he's too small, they'll screw him up somehow, blah 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 ad nauseum. But now, because AJ, the Daniel Bryans, the CM Punks, all these smaller sized guys, it's a different landscape nowadays. And the hope is if he does go there, he does get a legitimate shot. And we do get to see some cool matchups. We do get to see AJ Styles versus Kenny Omega. Oh my God, that would blow the roof off the place. Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega. There's so many cool matchups. You know what I mean? So it's a cool time to be a wrestling fan. Just monitoring where he goes at the moment.
Yeah. So apparently, New Japan have said that obviously AEW is direct competition for ROH, so it's causing ROH to up their deals that they're offering wrestlers. New Japan will only work with ROH right now. They're not going to work with AEW.
Why?
Just because I think they had to choose. They have a relationship with ROH. They got the big Madison Square Garden card coming up. So
wow,
I think that hurts AEW a lot. And if they don't get Kenny Omega, I think that hurts them a lot. I just don't know how much a promotion on Cody and the Young Bucks back as the top stars can go.
I agree with that. That's why it's vital they get him.
Yeah. One more name.
Get him. Come on. I mean,
they're going to get Kenny Omega?
I think they will. I mean, it was like the thing when the Young Bucks weren't in the original announcement signing and then signed today, because what they're going to offer these guys is something massive.
Well, they signed on the first because they had to technically wait till the first because their contracts with ROH weren't up.
But what they're going to have to offer them is ownership. They're going to have to offer them a share of ownership. I mean, Matt, could you imagine if a promotion came to you at any point in your career and said, you're going to actually own a piece of the company, a significant piece, you're going to have creative control, and you're going to help build this, and you're going to profit off of it long after you're actively wrestling?
Does the mark in me, the little boy who grew up a WWF fan, take over and go, here's my shot? Not only here's my shot with them, but this is probably the best shot I'm ever going to get with them. I don't know. This is where wrestlers become bad businessmen. Okay, because we are all marks for ourselves. Let me be very clear about that. I don't pretend I'm not, and most of them all are.
And we don't know that he's being offered ownership. If he does, you still got to look at it this way. Let's say he's being offered 7 figures by WWE.
Well, they have to. No, I agree with Glenn. There has to be that type of offer because they're not going to be able to compete with money. No way.
Well, they got a billionaire backing them.
Oh, they might have a billionaire. We don't know what he's invested in it, do we?
It said that he's coming in heavy. Like they're offering big contracts.
I was gonna say, brother, I can have $100 bill in my pocket. Don't mean I'm spending $100.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, but it's being said that this is going to be the most financial heavy investment into a pro wrestling company since WCW went out of business.
Oh my God! All right, I like hearing that.
But at the same time, how many big name free agents are there? Now, AJ Styles' contract is coming up this year. Nakamura. There are some big names that are out there. As far as Kenny Omega, again, if he's got a 7-figure contract from WWE, if he gets offered, a stake in AEW, whatever it is, if he gets offered more money from AEW, it's still a gamble because you don't know where it's going to be in a year with something that hasn't really aired yet. That has no track record.
And if he hits in WWE like AJ has, he's going to be set for many years after he's done. That royalty check will continue to come in. I have royalty check that comes in still. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So I can't even imagine what theirs must be.
Yeah. So, and it's one of those things. If he waits a year and AEW doesn't take off, and then there's those big money offers. WWE isn't going to come with that much money next year or 2 years from now, whatever it ends up being.
Well, it depends. If they blow up, they will.
If they blow up
and Kenny's the marquee player, they will.
Exactly. That's the gamble.
That's the gamble.
I know, Matt, you and I always talk about how much we love the Attitude Era in the 90s, the WWE versus WCW. I don't want to get my hopes too high, but I so badly want this thing to succeed. Rumors of them wanting to get Goldberg or signing Goldberg to something. Now, obviously, Goldberg's not going to be a weekly wrestler, but if he's in an ambassador type of role, that shows TV companies that they got a huge name involved with the promotion. And maybe he does a match or two here or there. Maybe he, does a couple matches and then puts somebody over. But I think it's a very smart move if they did attach Goldberg to that brand.
Well, let me ask you a question. On the Indies, there's a company called Big Time Wrestling.
Yeah.
And they would bring in a Goldberg, right? He wouldn't wrestle. He'd be there to sign autographs. Now, his name was attached to the company, and I would argue the house didn't draw as well as they would if it wasn't, say, Buff Bagwell wrestling in the main event for them.
Yeah, I think it's more of a, from a licensing perspective. You know what I mean? Okay. It shows TV executives that you got just a big name that they would recognize. Because let's face it, most people don't know who Cody outside of wrestling know who Cody or the Bucks are. Almost everyone that's followed any sports, knows Bill Goldberg.
Yes.
So
I agree with that. Yeah.
So it's very interesting times indeed. So we are going to be at the AEW rally tomorrow night. We'll have any news and stuff that comes out from it.
Where is it?
It is in Jacksonville.
It is?
Yeah. So how far are you from there?
2 hours, but I got a different rally I got to go to tomorrow night.
Yeah, and you got a podcast tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's
Yep.
right. Yeah.
That's not till after hours for me for work. That's like
Yeah, gotcha. Glenn, any other thoughts to put a bow on this?
No, I think more competition is good. Anything that keeps the WWE from being lazy, I think, benefits all of us.
Yeah, the best thing for a WWE fan would be for AEW to be ultra successful.
Absolutely,
they're super complacent without any competition, as we've seen.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, also tomorrow night, SmackDown is in Jacksonville, just like a walking distance from where this AEW rally is going to be.
Really?
Yeah. So supposedly that's a coincidence. I don't know. They're saying that that's the earliest they could get everyone from Japan, because Cody and the Young Bucks all wrestled at Wrestle Kingdom, Hangman Page, but they could have done it on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So I don't know if
California is a lot closer. Coming back.
Well, Jacksonville is where Tony Shaw's and the Jaguars are located. So their offices,
that's it right there. That's the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, it's going to be an interesting week. It's going to be an interesting year. So really excited about it. Glenn, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, everybody. So tomorrow night, SmackDown coverage live. Immediately after SmackDown goes off the air on the East Coast, tomorrow it'll be Raj and Matt Morgan. Going forward on Tuesdays, me, Raj, and Matt, the crew back together every Monday, Tuesday night, pay-per-views as well. Wednesday, the Wrestling Podcast is off this week, but next week it'll be the Winkley with Nick Hausman and Justin LaBar. And Matt, what do you want to plug before we take this home?
Nada, SA.
Cool, man. Raj, anything on the site?
There's tons of stuff. We got interviews with Gail Kim. We got PCO coming up. The founder of Glow, David McLean, with his Women of Wrestling coming up on Access. Just a ton of stuff coming up, and that's already there. So check it out. Every day we got an exclusive interview. So definitely check it out.
Don't get me started on PCO. I don't understand you fans. Why you're impressed with this crap? I don't understand it.
Real quick, but don't you think that's a fascinating story that he was a Quebecer in the 90s, and he's now here he is, and he has a resurgence in 2009.
He looks like an old man still wrestling, though. I can't take my eyes away from seeing that.
Yeah. He was once in the main event of Madison Square Garden card against WWE champion Bret Hart, and he's going to be at this ROH show at Madison Square Garden. What is it? 25 years later, whatever that is.
I mean, good for him. Personally, happy-wise, I'm obviously happy for him. Any wrestler I am to be successful. I just don't get what the link the fans draw is to him versus any other vet who's still in the business 20 years later.
Well, his style and everything has completely changed. Have you seen any of his matches?
His busted ass moonsault. Yeah, it's freaking like a Terry Funk moonsault. It's busted looking. It's not pretty.
Yeah. No.
Absolutely crazy.
I'll stop hating.
I'm Glenn Rubenstein. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. You can find me on Twitter at Glenn Rubenstein. Appreciate a follow, and we will see you back next year on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.